you for taking the time to be here with us today for our Fallen Officers Memorial. By your attendance here today, you show everybody how the memory of not just our fallen brothers, but the brothers and sisters from across the country that have given the ultimate sacrifice will never be forgotten. With this in mind, I would like to start our program. If everyone would please rise for the presentation and posting of the colors by the Hammond Police FOP 51 Honor Guard. Officers, attention! Precinct! Please remain for the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order! Halt!
Forward. Forward. Halt.
Officers, stand at. I would like to acknowledge some of the dignitaries that I saw walk in earlier. Deputy Chief Kevin Margraf, Councilman at Large Dan Spitali. I apologize if I didn't see anybody else as we were getting organized. Now, I would like to introduce Father William O'Toole, pastor of St. Casimir Church, to lead us in an opening prayer.
ask you to please bow your heads. Lord God Almighty, we ask you to bless those who have fallen in the service of all of us, in the service of country, and those who in this community have given their lives out of love for you and love for their neighbors. We ask you at this moment to also grant them eternal rest and peace. We ask you that we may be free from harm. We ask you to bless all the officers that are here present, to keep them safe, and to keep us also free from rain at this time, dear Lord. And we thank you for your many gifts, especially in those who have dedicated their lives to serving you and to protecting your people. We ask this through you who live and reign forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Father. I would now like to call upon Corporal Paul Maldonado, our Hammond FOP 51 president, to say a few words.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here with us today. The first thing I would like to do is mention our retired brothers that we have lost this past year. Henry Hawk Garrison, Harry Platt, Norman Spencer, Eugene Robinson, James Dowling, Michael Campus. Would we please bow our heads and have a moment of silence for our deceased retired brothers. The ultimate sacrifice while performing their duties for the citizens of Hammond. We, as they did, have dedicated ourselves to the preservation of law and order to the community. We stand here in their absence to renew our dedication and assure them that they did not die in vain. Their names have been engraved on these memorial walls to always remind us that ours is a duty not only to the living, but to those who have pioneered our profession and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We leave our homes before each shift, kissing our loved ones goodbye, knowing it may be our last, and knowing the worries that those same loved ones endure, praying that we return home for one more embrace. Yet we show up, awaiting the new challenges that each new shift will bring. Well, we accept the challenge. We will continue the well-traveled path to rid our society of those who disrespect our peaceful way of living. We know no more of a glorious way to honor the memory of these fallen brothers and sisters than to be constantly vigilant to combat the evil that took these brave heroes from our society. May we always have the strength to carry on the tradition for which they gave their most precious possession. May we never forget the loved ones, our fallen brothers and sisters. We owe them our dedication so those who survive live in peace in our community of freedom. I ask for a moment of silence for all of our brothers and sisters that have given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, President Maldonado. I would now like to play a musical selection, You Raise Me Up, by Josh Groban.
You raise me up to more than I can be.
I would now like to invite Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was just thinking before I came up here, I've been mayor almost 10 years now, and this is my 10th memorial service with the Hammond Police Department. And I've been very lucky in a lot of respects that during that 10-year period, I never got that phone call. We've been close a couple times, a couple very serious situations involving Hammond police officers while I've been mayor, but thankfully we haven't had that phone call, the one where the officer makes the ultimate sacrifice. And, you know, it hit home the other day, reading the newspaper, reading about the story in Maryville where the officer was off duty and guarding a Planned Parenthood, I believe, and there was a semi parked out in the parking lot, and the officer was doing his job, ticketed it a couple times, and then he saw the driver come back and went out there, and probably what would normally be a routine situation turned into a life-threatening situation for that officer, and he was in a struggle for his life, and he discharges his revolver into the guy's stomach. And I think it just reminds me as mayor, you know, something even as routine as a traffic ticket could get real bad real quick and put you know, you men and women on the spot. And you guys are out there protecting us. As a resident, I appreciate what you do. As the mayor, I know what you do. In 10 years, I really think, one of the things I'm most proud of as your mayor is how far we've come, in my opinion, in the Hammond Police Department. And I think it's due almost entirely to the hard work of you all. I mean, it would be silly for me to take any credit, but I'm really proud of the job you do as mayor, and I get nothing but compliments as your mayor and as a resident of the city of Hammond. And I know a lot of you choose to make Hammond your home, and I know a lot of you don't live in Hammond, but I just want you to know that as a resident, everybody appreciates what you do, and everybody knows how dangerous your job is and what you do on an everyday basis. And I don't want you guys to forget that. So, you know, as long as I'm your mayor, I hope I never get that phone call, but I know it's a possibility, and you know it's a possibility, and you still go out there and do your job. So I just want to say thank you for that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you for your words, Mayor. I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker. This person is a brother to me, not only in fraternalism, but also in blood. He served over 10 years on the Gary Police Department before receiving a disability retirement from a line of duty accident. He served over 10 years on the Indiana State FOP Critical Incident Memorial Team before being appointed chairman. I would now like to introduce my brother, Joe Hamer.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'd like to say thank you for being asked to speak here today. I've been given the unfortunate privilege of being named the chairman of the most prestigious team of its kind anywhere in the country. I say unfortunate privilege because the circumstances that I and the rest of the team come into contact with new survivors is a devastating and unfortunate one. However, it is a privilege of each and every member of this team to honor our fallen officers and heroes. It's with great veneration that I am here today. There are only a few things that I would like to try and express to each and every one of you here. One would be that many times we as officers think that it's us against them. I wish that I could speak for a survivor on how they would look at the active officers that continue to do the work that their loved one did and paid the ultimate sacrifice. I found a way to do just that. In a few moments, you will hear a recording of a survivor. This man was 3 years old when his father was killed on December 20th, 1921. Officer Harry Arden died of wounds he sustained when he was shot off duty as he was taking police action. Officer Arden and a detective were rabbit hunting in a rural area of Tulsa on Buick touring car with the intent of robbing them. The detective attempted to fire his shotgun at them, but it misfired. The four men started shooting at the officers while they were sitting in their car. Officer Ardent, despite serious wounds in one lung, leg, and liver, drove 1 mile to a farmhouse where he collapsed. Officer Ardent died of his wounds 2 days later. The detective was paralyzed for life from the leg wounds just above the knee. The four suspects were later apprehended and sentenced to life in prison following a trial. Here is the opinion of his son, a survivor, on what a police officer is.
Policeman. A policeman is a composite of what all men are, I guess, a mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. Culled statistics, wave the fan over stinkers, underscore instances of dishonesty and brutality because they are news. What that really means is that they are exceptional, they are unusual, they are not commonplace. Buried under the froth is the fact. And the fact is that less than 0.5% of policemen misfit that uniform. And that is a better average than you'd find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He of all men is at once the most needed and the most wanted. A strangely nameless creature who is sir to his face and pig or worse behind his back. He must be such a diplomat that he can settle differences between individuals so that each will think he won, but if a policeman is neat, he's conceited. If he's careless, he's a bum. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions which would require months for a lawyer, but if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with a diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limp or expect to be sued. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip two men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. A policeman must know everything and not tell. He must know where all of the sin is and not partake. The policeman from a single human hair must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding, but if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. If he gets promoted, he has political pull. If he doesn't, he's a dullard. The policeman must chase bum leads to a dead end, stake out 10 nights to tag one witness who saw it happen but refuses to remember. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some felon who will get dealed out by a shameless Seamus or an honorable who isn't honorable. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And of course he'll have to be a genius because he'll have to feed a family on a policeman's salary.
That was the voice of Paul Harvey. Paul Harvey was an American radio broadcast icon from the 1950s to the 1990s. Realize that survivors across not just this state, but the country, think that you, those still in the uniform, and those that did wear it proudly, are appreciated and grateful for what you do. If there's one message that I would like to share and stress to each and every officer and retired officer here, is about our survivors. I have met many survivors from across this country, and the largest complaint they have is how they were told the next three statements. You will always be part of this family. We will always be there for you. Call if you need anything. The definition of a survivor in Webster's dictionary is to remain alive or in existence, to continue to function or prosper. A survivor will rarely ever ask for any help with anything, and when the days, nights, weeks, and months pass, the thing that goes through many of their heads, as I have been told, is that they wait for the calls and the invitations to parties and events. I've been told by want to know that they are, in fact, still part of this family and their loved one will never be forgotten. I believe, and my comment has always been, that seeing a survivor is looking at the possibility or realization what could happen to my family as an officer. That could be my wife, my parent, or my child. I would challenge each and every one of you, officer, active, and retired, to not just say those words to survivors, but to embrace them and keep each and every one of them involved in our law enforcement family. It's what they deserve from all of us for the sacrifice that was made by their officer and also by them. For they also should be told that they are heroes for their sacrifice that they have made for our communities and country. Thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to be with you here today. May God watch over each and every one of you and your families. Godspeed, and be safe.
Thank you, Joe, for the words of inspiration. I would now like to invite Chief Brian Miller to come forward for the roll call of our fallen heroes.
In the 100-plus year history of the Hammond Police Department, 6 brave officers have lost their lives in the line of duty. The first to fall was Detective Leo Fox. On October 8, 1929, Detective Fox was asked by Illinois police to go to an apartment building on Calumet Avenue. There had been a robbery in Illinois, and they believed the suspects were holding up in the apartment. As they climbed the stairs, the suspects came out, a gun battle ensued. Detective Fox fell, mortally wounded. The second officer to give his life was Captain George Hanlon. In his 36th year of service with the Hammond Police Department, he was directing traffic on the morning of May 10, 1937. While he was directing traffic, a drunk driver struck him and killed him. The next to lose his life, there was actually 2. It was the worst day in the history of the Hammond Police Department. It was on January 10, 1947. Patrolman John Gurka and Donald Cook were shot and killed while they're investigating a suspicious vehicle. John Gurka had went through 5 years serving in World War II over in Germany. Came back without a scratch. Was gunned down on the streets of his hometown. Donald Cook had been a police officer for 4 days when he was killed. On June 1st, 1961, Officer Frank Dunn was patrolling foot duty in downtown Hammond, not far from here, actually by the old federal courthouse. I came around the corner and encountered a burglar, and the burglar shot him several times and he was killed. The last officer to die in the line of duty was Officer Donald Basalik, or Larry Basalik, I'm sorry. Officer Larry Basalik was working off duty at a motel on Klein Avenue in November of 1980. He interrupted an armed robbery and he was shot several times and died. He had 6 years on the job and left behind a wife and 2 children. I ask you to keep these officers in your thoughts and prayers, and always remember how they died, but especially remember how they lived. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Miller. I would now like to invite the Chief, followed by the active and retired officers present, along with any other police department personnel, to file by the Star of Honor while placing a white carnation into the star. As they pass, the Region Police pipes and drums will play Amazing Grace. please rise. Honor Guard, will you please salute our fallen brothers and sisters that have given the ultimate sacrifice.
Left, hey! Over, ho!
Once again, I
would ask you to bow your heads. Lord God Almighty, we give you great thanks for the witness of all those here, all of those who serve you in this community, who keep us safe. Again, we commend to your mercy all of those who have died in the service of our safety, in the service of country. We ask you to bless us, to bless our world with peace. And we thank you for your presence among us this day. We thank you for keeping us safe from rain, and we ask that you be with us always and upon our officers and their families. We ask this through you who live and reign forever and ever. Amen.
I would once again like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, for the words of wisdom and comfort spoken here today. I would like to leave you with a quote that is located on the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington. It's not how these officers died that made them heroes, it's how they lived. By Vivian Frost, she's a survivor. This concludes our service. I would like to invite you to enjoy some refreshments inside. Thank you.